You're 14 years old, standing in a room in London, and two men are signing a piece of paper about you. One of them is your father, the other one you met an hour ago. You can't read it. Most boys your age can't. But you understand the shape of it. Because every boy your age understands the shape of it. Your father is handing over money. In exchange, this stranger now owns the next 7 years of your life. Nobody asks you anything. There's no line for your name. Then the clerk does something strange. He takes the paper and cuts it in half. Not straight, but in a wavy, jagged line down the middle. Your father takes one half. Your master takes the other. If there's ever a dispute, the two pieces have to be fitted back together. The teeth have to match. That's the proof. That jagged cut is where the word comes from. Indenture. From the indentation. Your childhood ends with a tear line. You are now an apprentice. Day 1, you don't get a job. You get a household. Your master feeds you, clothes you, and gives you a place to sleep. That's in the contract. What is not in the contract is money. You will not be paid this year, or in year 4, or in year 7, not once. There's more in that paper, and the clerk reads it out loud so you can't claim you didn't know. You shall not commit fornication. You shall not contract matrimony. You shall not play at cards or dice. You shall not haunt taverns or playhouses. You shall not absent yourself from your master's service by day or by night. You nod at each one. What else would you do? And then you follow him home, and you understand the last part of the arrangement without anyone saying it out loud. You sleep here, in the workshop, or in a room above it with the other apprentices. There is no line between the place you work and the place you exist. There is no evening. There is no going home. Home is now a place you visit. Month 2. You've learned nothing about the trade. You sweep. You carry. You keep the fire alive from before dawn. You fetch water. You scrub tools you're not allowed to use. You run messages across the city in the rain. And when you get back, you're wet for the rest of the day, because you own one set of clothes. You keep waiting for the training to start. One evening you ask, "When do I learn the work?"
You are learning the work.
"I'm carrying water."
Yes.
You think he's being cruel. He isn't, particularly. He's being economical. Here's the thing nobody explains to you. Your labor is worth more to him than your training is worth to you for the first several years. That gap is where his profit lives. An apprentice who knows the trade is an apprentice who can walk out and compete with him. So the knowledge comes slowly, deliberately slowly. It's rationed. Month 5. There are 4 of you in the workshop, and the oldest is a boy called Thomas. He's 20. He's in year 6. He has 1 year left. And to you, that makes him something close to a god. He's the one who tells you which mistakes the master actually cares about, and which ones he only shouts about. He's the one who shows you how to hold the tools when nobody's watching. He's the one who tells you to eat fast, because the food goes to whoever is quickest, and there is never quite enough. And he's the one who tells you what the end looks like.
Year 7, you're free of him. You get your freedom of the city. You can trade. You can vote. You can marry whoever you want.
And then what?
And then you open a shop.
You think about that shop constantly. In the cold, carrying water at 5 in the morning, you think about the shop. 7 years is nothing. If there's a shop at the end of it. That night, you decide something. You are going to be the best apprentice this man has ever had. You are not going to complain, not once, for 7 years. Hold on to that. We're coming back to it. Year 2, you run. It isn't planned. He hits you for something you didn't do. One of the others did it, and you're out the door and down the street before you've decided anything. You get about 4 streets. Then you stop because you realize you have nowhere to go. You can't go home. Your father paid a premium for this, and he isn't getting it back. You have no money. You have no legal right to be anywhere else. You come back before dark. He's waiting. And here I want to step out of the story for a moment, because we know exactly how common this was. A century after your indenture, the Bridewell Institution in London kept a logbook of disciplinary cases against its apprentices, running from 1710 to 1794. Every offense, every punishment, name by name. When historians went through it, one offense dominated everything else. Not theft, not violence, not drunkenness, running away, over and over for 80 years. Most came back within days. Many did it repeatedly across their entire term. Ran, returned, punished, ran again. The punishments are recorded too. Whipping, or the hemp blocks. Beating hemp fiber by hand until your palms split. The standard hard labor of the age. And one that tells you more than the others. Some were punished by losing a small charitable payment they'd have received on completing their service. Think about the design of that. Behave for 7 years, or lose the money at the very end. The punishment for a 14-year-old running away for one afternoon is collected when he's 21. Year 3. Now, the number that changes the whole story. Historians who've studied English apprenticeship records estimate that only about half of apprentices ever completed their terms. I want to be careful with that, because it moves a lot by trade, by city, and by century, and the record-keeping is uneven. But the direction isn't disputed by anyone. Falling out wasn't the exception. It was roughly a coin flip. They ran and stayed gone. They were beaten badly enough to leave. Their master died, or went bankrupt, or the trade collapsed under him, and some were simply abandoned, the premium taken, the boy dumped. That was common enough that Parliament eventually legislated against it. In 1767, the law split the payment into 2 halves, one at the start and one 3 years in, specifically to make abandoning a child unprofitable. Laws like that don't get written about rare problems. You don't know any of this. Nobody's counting. You just notice that boys disappear, and nobody explains where they went. Year 4. And then there's the one day of the year when the whole thing inverts. Shrove Tuesday, the day before Lent, what we'd now call Pancake Day. By tradition, it belongs to the apprentices. And in the London of your lifetime, apprentices spend it rioting. Between 1603 and 1642, there were at least 24 Shrove Tuesday riots in this city. Crowds of apprentices attacked brothels and playhouses, officially to clear away temptation before Lent, which nobody entirely believed. They came with iron bars and axes, and they pulled the buildings down. You're in that crowd. Everyone is. And for a few hours, you are not a boy who carries water. You're part of something with numbers, moving through a city that normally moves around you. Here's the detail that explains everything. It was tolerated, rarely punished seriously, for decades. Because the city understood the arithmetic. You have thousands of teenage boys with no wages, no wives, no property, no privacy, and no exit for 7 years. So you give them one day. It's a pressure valve. Everyone involved knows it's a pressure valve. 40 years after your riot, in 1668, the apprentices go too far. Days of it. Thousands in the streets. And this time, some of them are charged with high treason and executed for it. The valve had a limit. Nobody had told them where it was. Year 6. Thomas finishes. You've been waiting years to watch this. This is the proof that the end exists. He's free. He has his freedom of the city. He can trade, marry, vote. Everything he told you about on your first winter. And 3 weeks later, you see him again. And he's working in another man's shop for daily wages. Where's the shop?
There's no shop.
You said?
I know what I said.
Here's what he's discovered. To set up as a master, you need premises, tools, and stock. On the continent, many guilds also wanted a masterpiece, a chef d'oeuvre, one object proving total command of the trade, judged by the guild, usually kept by them. It's real, and it's the version that gets romanticized. But it was never the obstacle. The obstacle was money. Thomas has just spent 7 years earning nothing. He has no capital. He has no way to get capital. So he becomes a journeyman. From the French journée, a day. A skilled worker paid by the day, in a shop that isn't his. Some journeymen made it to master eventually. Many worked that way for the rest of their lives. The shop you've been thinking about since you were 14 isn't at the end of the 7 years. It's at the end of another 15. If it comes at all. Year 7. You finish. You're 21. You made it through, which puts you in roughly the better half of everyone who started. You did what you promised yourself in year 1. You almost never complained. You worked harder than the ones who left, and it made no difference at all. That's the part I can't get past. The vow you made in the cold that first winter, the one where you were going to be the best he ever had, it didn't buy you the shop. The system didn't reward it, and was never built to. What it bought you was 7 years of getting through it without breaking. That's not nothing. It's just not what you were promised. 15 years later, you got there. Not in 7 years. In 22. Journeyman wages, saved slowly. A marriage that came with a little money. A master who died at the right moment and left premises going cheap. You have a shop. You have tools. You have more work than 2 hands can finish. So you do the only thing anyone in your position does. There's a man in front of you with money in his hand, and a boy beside him who hasn't been asked anything. You know exactly what the next 7 years will contain. You know about the water, and the fire, and the rationed knowledge. You know it's roughly a coin flip. You know about the shop that isn't at the end. You could tell him. You could explain the whole arrangement to a 14-year-old in the 30 seconds before his father signs. You take the money, and you cut the paper in a wavy line, so that one day, if anyone ever disputes what was agreed here, the 2 halves can be fitted back together and matched.